Your nation, your news. One American News Network.
So what is Agenda 21, and why is it that all Americans should be aware and concerned about it, I should say? Joining me this time is a founder of a group called Citizens Against Agenda 21, Ernie White. Ernie, good to see you again.
Good to see you again, Rick.
All right, so, you know, those folks who are political junkies know Agenda 21.
Right.
But the vast majority of Americans who've got other things in life to occupy themselves with, like living a life and taking kids to soccer practice and so forth, are not so familiar. What is Agenda 21 to start with?
Oh, man, Agenda 21 is something that was created by the United Nations. Back in 1992, the United States signed on to it. What this does, you may have heard of smart growth in your town. You may have heard of sustainable development in your town.
Yeah.
You may start seeing the stack 'em and pack 'em housing in your towns.
Yeah.
This is all Agenda 21, and the real goal is to get you out of your cars, get you into a centralized location where you can be watched, where you can be monitored, where all your resources can be controlled. Basically, Agenda 21 controls everything you do, including your driving. You may see more bike lanes now. You may see more of these downtown areas where you can't even drive anymore. You may see one little lane. That's all a part of Agenda 21.
You're saying a lot of things there. I mean, let me back up a second. I'm hearing central planning. I'm hearing getting out of your automobile. But you're also saying they're going to spy on you and control resources. Who is they?
The United Nations, again, the United Nations have set up all sorts of little United Nations in our towns. Out here in San Diego.
Back up one second. So are you saying that these are laws put in place that are governed not by your local municipality, not by U.S. laws, but by international UN laws?
The United Nations began this in 1992. President Clinton decided to do a presidential initiative where he started sustainable development. Then you've got George Bush who followed it. Now you've got Barack Obama who's pushed sustainable development, pushed the EPA. Now you've got all these smaller little regional governments in your town. In San Diego is called SANDAG. And that's one of the regional governments that's running your town. If you go to their sandag.org,
right,
you'll actually be able to see all the things that they're doing in your town. Your city council no longer has any power.
How's that tie into the UN?
The United Nations is the first step to Agenda 21. Then the United Nations started another entity called ICLEI. And that's,
go ahead. You're going to explain how?
I'm going to explain that.
All right.
And then what ICLEI did is started these other branches that are now your little regional governments. And these are non-elected government organizations.
Non-elected?
These are non-elected government organizations, but your city council members and some of your county council members are on all of these boards. And they're the ones making all these decisions, not your city anymore.
All right. So experience in life tells me that there's something in it. If you got a city council member who's been elected by the people, he's a member of this board called ICLEI, which are non-electable officials, as you say. What's in it? Is there a kickback going on? Is there a power grab? Why are these city council officials joining this, becoming members of this organization called ICLEI?
Well, let me say this. Every city, including San Diego, I live in Temecula. We've done it.
Okay, this is a national show. Temecula is in Southern California.
Southern California. This is a national show. Just about every city in America has done it. They have implemented this new plan. It's ICLEI's plan, and this is Agenda 21. It's been implemented in your city plans. You've got to check your city plans. Everyone's has it. As a matter of fact, if you just Google your town and put in ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I, you'll probably see your city plan and notice that you are now an Agenda 21 city. And you're going to also be noticing that you've got all this stack 'em and pack 'em housing going on.
Right.
You go to these city council meetings and they don't listen to you anymore because the decision has already been made on a regional level. And you've got to start fighting these regional levels.
So how do you do that?
You start off by taking over your local town. You've got to keep the fight local. You cannot fight this thing nationally, so if everybody starts focusing on their town, that's how you can start beating it back. You've got to attend city council meetings. The city council members know that nobody shows up to these meetings. Sometimes you only have 3 or 4 people in the audience, but you've got 100 chairs available. Nobody shows up. Your county meetings, nobody shows up to these meetings, and this is where all of this is being implemented. If you started showing up as citizens, that's where your first fight is. It's got to be local. You can't go outside of your city. You've got to stick by your city, and you've got to fight it right there in your city and demand that ICLEI gets out of your city, demand that Agenda 21 is out of your city. And Agenda 21 is not a conspiracy theory. It's already here. We're actually late. We're late to this fight. This fight is almost over.
Are there any success stories in America where ICLEI has, as you said, you get rid of ICLEI, you have to get rid of these, rid of Agenda 21. Any success stories, any towns, cities in America where this has happened?
Well, actually in Hollywood, California, just a couple weeks ago, an attorney actually sued and was able to stop some of the stack 'em and pack 'em housing, which is being implemented by ICLEI, being implemented by these regional governments. So we actually have one success story, but it's a huge success story because it's going to tackle their housing element, which is something, a whole nother subject, but it's an element that we all have to start focusing on. I want people to start realizing housing element, that's going to be how you're going to bring this thing down. You've got to focus on the housing elements because the housing elements are wrong.
Why do you oppose the so-called stack 'em and pack 'em housing? First of all, define stack 'em and pack 'em so our viewers know what you mean, and why is that such an evil thing?
Well, it's evil because the citizens of the town have nothing to do with this. Your elected leaders have nothing to do with this. This is being pushed on you. This is being forced on you. And in some of these areas where you're doing this stack 'em and pack 'em, it's not really a place where there should even be housing. Out here in California, we're stacking people on top of earthquake fault lines. We're stacking people where there's liquefaction.
Okay, question is why? Why are these decisions being made at a broader level to bring this type of housing to America?
Because the goal is to get people off of the land and into the little tight-knit cities. Get them off the land, and if you notice, there's very little land available for you to do anything with. You can't build on anything. They won't give you the permits to do anything. You can't even put a shed up on anything. So this is the goal is to get you into one little condensed area and put all your resources there. They want your jobs there. They want your transportation there. They want you to work, live, and eat.
Why would Presidents H.W. Bush, a Republican, and Bill Clinton, a Democrat, both sign on to this?
Because they're both globalists. They both believe in globalism. They believe that it's, if you heard George W. Bush, you heard him say that we're going into the New World Order. And the New World Order means world control of everything. Most of these cameras that you see that are taking pictures of people's license plates, the people that are watching you are in Australia. They're not even in your town. It's a global effort to basically bring Americans off their land and to start to control everything that you do.
Just the opposite of Mussolini, who spread people out across Italy to make it harder for people to organize. That's kind of interesting.
That's right, and you're going to notice that in these cities, you're going to see lots and lots of cameras. They're going to tell you it's for your safety.
You see, well, it's interesting. You bring up San Diego. They just got rid of those cameras in San Diego.
Right, and we just got rid of them up there where we live too in Temecula, California, or actually Marietta, California. So we got rid of the red light cameras, but they're putting up more security cameras.
Security cameras. That's a bad thing because of why?
It's a bad thing because the government is tracking everything you do. And it's not just your government. It's now these non-elected regional boards. It's going to be also these non-elected.
What troubles me, Ernie, is what you're saying. You have these non-elected regional boards. You have these agendas being driven by international forces. But let me play devil's advocate for 1 second.
There you go.
We hear all these despicable knockout crimes taking place. And there's only been a few arrests from what I understand, given the number of crimes. And those arrests that have been made were made because the perpetrator was caught on camera. When I hear that, I'm thinking, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. And so in San Jose, California, their city council is looking at a measure where their police can now watch the security cameras of everybody's homes.
No.
And it's going to make you a little bit more secure. And so what you got to wonder is,
that's a bad thing.
Are we going to give up all of our security, all of our freedom, just for a little bit more security? Because you know what? If we were given our rights back, if we were able to legally carry, if we're able to simply protect ourselves, don't forget, your first responders are always just your neighbor, just the guy that's right next to you.
Right.
It's never the police. I used to be a firefighter paramedic. We get there late.
Yeah.
It's whoever's on the scene, they're the ones that's going to save your life.
Ernie, for those of our viewers watching across America who you've raised their concern, how can they learn how to get involved in their hometown?
Well, if you go to my website, citizensagainstagenda21.com.
I think we're showing it on the screen now.
There you go. I've got all sorts of links, all sorts of information, everything they need to know, need to learn. But really, the fight is going to be local. They've got to keep the fight local. Don't get overwhelmed, and make sure you fight for your local town.
Final quick question. I got to ask you. You said it's late in the game. We're losing the fight.
It's very late.
But you don't think it's too late?
It's not too late because we're having victories. And the more people start to understand it, the more you see something that says green this or green that, that's Agenda 21. The more you see sustainability, sounds good, sounds fuzzy, sounds warm.
Right.
It's not good for you. You've got to do your homework. Instead of Googling all the other things you Google Agenda 21 and learn it. It's right there. They're not hiding it from you. And go to your own city website and realize what they're doing. Look at your city plan, and you're going to see Agenda 21 in that city plan.
All right, Ernie White from Citizens Against Agenda 21. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me, Rick.
All right. The chasm between the American people and Hollywood only continues to grow. We'll tell you how and why on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.